Alright, only a week and a half late, I finally have my thoughts in order as to Payday's most recent update and DLC heist. At this point, I doubt you're here to see the new outfit or any of those additional bells and whistles we received, so instead let's keep the focus on the brand new heist, which is honestly unlike any other in the game, for better and for worse. You see, the reason I think the hostile takeover heist is the future of Payday is that I expect Payday 3 to follow in its footsteps in terms of that open heisting strategy. Its design philosophy we've seen the devs working towards probably since the branching paths in Bullet's Mansion, and has become progressively more ingrained in how heists work now, from Ukrainian prisoners' separate paths of progression to the Black Cat's open objective order. With time, it's becoming more subtle, to the point that this is just a design formula now. Don't expect heists to hold your hand, and do feel free to explore your own options of approach. Overall, I think it's a brilliant feature and opens up the possibility of Payday 3 becoming a heisting game where you really are the mastermind. I even think this tagline I see associated with Payday 3 of living the heisting fantasy is really all about this shift in design philosophy, and having the choice to take on New York however you see fit sounds excellent. So let's take a look at the future of Payday. Alright, now I've raised everyone's hopes sky high, I do have to bring it down to earth. This video is going to explore how I think that the hostile takeover heist is excellent in terms of visual design and map layout, but also how Payday 2's old engine just isn't completely ready for the challenges that freeform heisting brings, meaning this heist ends up being a confusing initial experience and then a trivial one for all attempts from then onwards. That said, golf carts make a triumphant, if slightly inexplicable, return to this heist, and that's always fun. In fact, it feels as if a lot of the exterior of this heist was designed specifically with their use in mind, especially the huge ramps for the cinematic entrance into the building. Now, I've already run through most of the objectives this heist offers in my just passing through achievement guide, and to be honest, from stealth to loud, there really isn't a ton of variation. Saw the Neo 2 free and loud, hack the entrance to the research centre, and C4 the hell out of the lab, and you've just about covered all the differences that exist between the two variations. So instead, I want to focus on why loud just doesn't do it for me on this heist, the main reason being the stark lack of challenge. I'm positive every single one of you can get it done on death sentence, because you can essentially have it minutes from completion without firing a single bullet. If you grab a keycard to open up the microscope lab, and then simply use the marketing manager to open up the glass case, the two most time-consuming objectives will already be complete, and you won't have had to go loud with just a modicum of stealthing ability. From there, you can easily complete the HQ objectives unchallenged, as there's a ton of cover and flank routes accessible, and then just open up the second research lab to secure the 4 bundles and immediately escape, without even having to mess around with the mobile turret section of the heist. Which, by the way, freaking sucks. Shooting turrets just isn't fun, least of all this one, which respawns 2 times and makes no logical sense. This is the only really tough section of the heist, and it's rubbish, and can be circumvented completely, so there's that. In all, this heist can be completed in sub 7 minutes solo loud, and that completion time could easily be lower if you're pushing for it. For reference, that's short for a release Payday 2 heist, not the 20-minute plus experience we've come to expect from modern Payday releases. Now, to be fair, the heist is easy in places due to really solid map design. The heist objectives are well linked, flanking routes are plentiful, and there's loads of cover inside and out. I've also found the spawns to not be very oppressive, and because you're running around from objective to objective, the wave often gets separated and can't really put enough pressure on veteran heisters to challenge them. But the real problem is that when given the opportunity to take on things in whatever order we fancy, Overkill can't really plan out the difficulty progression of the heist. To be honest, this is why drills and computer hacks work in Payday. Think of Ukrainian prisoner. It's not a tough heist until we get caught up in the office midway through and are forced to hold out, allowing the devs to tailor a more intense holdout section of the heist to spike up the difficulty. That's completely absent on Hostile Takeover, and of course as gamers we will optimise our routes, which means even if Overkill designs certain sections to build on difficulty, when we can pick our approach, it's inevitable we'll find a way around them. In hindsight, I don't think the devs could have done anything differently without massively limiting our freedom, which would have ran counter to the entire point of the heist. Payday 2 is just the game it is. There's no adaptive AI or variable objectives, which means that when we're given the freedom to adapt, there's no way the cops will be able to keep up. Basically, what I'm saying is, this heist is too short and too easy and loud, but that's not necessarily anyone's fault, and I still commend the guys for creating such a unique experience. Let's be fair, not everything needs to be Goat Simulator. However, I do have a few additional gripes with how the game handles the teaching of its open objectives. I mean, if you didn't know that this was the heist gimmick going in, would you ever? You see, Payday 2 shows you objectives in a very linear manner. You're told what you should do, and that will not change until you've done it. So the first objective the game teaches you to do is go inside the headquarters and find 3 items. It doesn't tell you what they are, although it does give you some clues as to where you might find them. Now, after completing it once, I can tell you that you need to find the Chief of Security's office, the head office, and a computer in the building, which will eventually point itself out to you once you've been searching without any luck for long enough. To be frank, that just isn't good enough. Nowhere does it suggest that you should try searching the rest of the map, as there are other objectives we need to fulfill, and even if you happen to stumble upon them, the game won't tell you what you're supposed to do until you get to that point in its desired objective order. It won't count on the microscopes you've destroyed, won't tell you where to drop off the research, and refuses to mention that while searching for those 3 items, in the very same building, there's the actual thing we've come to steal sitting underneath you, which needs to be sawn open. Now, if Payday had a multi-objective tracking system with a sort of drop-down box detailing everything you found on the heist so far and everything you need to do with what's been found, this would all work perfectly for a first-time heister. But if you've never played the heist before, it will leave you utterly clueless. Now, I know Payday is a game heavily focused around replayability, but surely the first experience of any heist should be sacred and the focus of gameplay design. Because as things are, you'll be confused as hell for 20 minutes before completing it, at which point you'll be able to do so again in half the time because you finally understand how it works. Once again, this is a product of Payday 2's archaic systems, not the devs on Hostile Takeover. But I would say this heist more than any other shines a spotlight on just how desperately old Payday actually is. Here's hoping that Payday 3 can handle the more open design by modernising those systems. Oh, and whilst I'm griping, I was a little disappointed by pre-planning on this heist. The entry and escape plans I was excited for basically boil down to what side of the map you want to start and leave on, and the other assets are generally a little uninspired in my opinion. Pre-planning is another system that I think is showing its age at this point, although I do like that you can choose to use asset points on more loot potential, and that's pretty cool, and adds to the array of paintings you can already steal from the heist as added loot. I'm done moaning for now though, you'll be happy to hear. Stealth on this heist is top tier in my opinion. I've already made this clear in the speedrun guide. I think the open-endedness Hostile Takeover brings is really well suited not only to stealth in general, but especially to speedrunning. And as I mentioned, this heist being so well linked and having all those different entrances around the map makes it perfectly tailored for stealth. Even pre-planning feels more interesting if you've got a stealth approach in mind. It still falls into those same pitfalls as Loud in terms of not being well explained for first time players, but it makes up for that with some really interesting objectives. I like the way you need to track down the lead scientist and can actually follow his schedule to catch him out in less exposed locations. And I think it's a nice touch that you can either find the marketing manager's code in her aptly coke-filled safe, or just straight up threaten her to gain access to the primary loot of this heist. Even the investigator objective, which only occurs when the heist is played in the desired order of the devs, is completely unique to this one. Although, I'm not sure you'll ever see it, as there's literally no reason to follow Overkill's objective order once you know what to do. To be honest, this heist could be stealth only for all I care. It's a really fun experience, solo or with friends, and shows the best of that freeform heisting Hostile Takeover is all about. In terms of reward, this is a low to mid tier earner, but when you can smash through it in under 2 minutes as an ECM rushing team, you'll start to realise that it's got insane levelling potential if you're still out there farming for infamy. Finally, let's talk about the achievements exclusive to this heist, as I genuinely think Overkill have outdone themselves with their creativity. Texas Treasures Part 3 is turning into a Call of Duty zombie style hide and seek Easter egg, requiring you to find a button, 3 codes, and then the safe itself before unlocking the achievement. Can't wait to see how crazy they'll get with the final part. Whilst System Shocked is a simple but funny achievement which basically has you waiting out in the research centre whilst cops walk in and get shocked by the loose electrical wires after C4ing the place. I thought this was a nifty interaction, although I'd love someone to explain why you'd ever cut the wires. Surely the place being electrocuted is just a good thing for you. The Just Passing Through achievement was so fun and challenging solo that it warranted its own video. Check that out in the description if you've missed it, although I was a little disappointed by how easy it is when playing with a group compared to solo. Finally, Payday Kart 64 is a funny one that's deceptively difficult if you're not a golf cart driving master. Just be sure to learn the route and you'll eventually be able to knock it out in under a minute. Overall, I love what this heist is trying to do, and when it works, it really works. Visually, it's stunning in places, and shows how far the team have come from the asset flippy border crossing to this heist with its unique style nearly 10 years into the game's lifespan. But unfortunately, it really is a heist that's on the short side, and I'm struggling to see why I'd ever want to take it out in Loud from start to finish. So if value for money is your thing, maybe this isn't the #1 DLC heist you're going to want to prioritize. But from my perspective, I've put dozens of hours into this heist grinding stealth alone. There are a few heists as satisfying to try and perfect, so if stealth really is your thing, I'd say this is one of the top 2 or 3 heists in the game, and a must try out. So that's the duality of Hostile Takeover. I'm really happy it exists. It's testament to an evolving design strategy that I'm betting Payday 3 will be taking full advantage of, and shows that Payday 2 devs will still have a few tricks up their sleeve as we head towards what might be its final ever heist. I hope you're ready for it, as Texas Heat has just one last chance to blow us away before the end of the campaign. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and for being patient with this video. Some of you have guessed the next challenge run already, but that's coming up for you shortly, so I'll see you all very soon. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.